Up our news review this morning with Joy Mdivo, political analyst, Francis Waititu, MP Juja, and Anthony Watch, MP Mathare constituency. A quick look at the main headline today. The US, the United States, pushes for Uhuru-Raila talks over poll, and they're quoting a top American diplomat who says Trump's government has already reached out to Kenya's political leaders to resolve thorny issues around October 17 election. On page 5 of the Daily Nation, the headline there on the top reads, repeat poll date may be changed today, but a paragraph inside says, according to sources, however, that decision to change the date or to make it public is not likely to be made until Wednesday, when the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission meets President Uhuru Kenyatta and his main rival, Raila Odinga, at the Bomas of Kenya. That's the National Tallying Center. So yes, the IEBC has invited these two gentlemen to a meeting. Will it happen? Will it take place? We do not know. But what we expect such talks between President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and the IEBC to discuss, Joy?
I think one of the things that they're going to consider is I saw that there was a request by Saffron that they need more time to reconfigure the KIMS kit. There's also, you have to balance what is going on with national elections examinations that are coming up, so there needs to be that stakeholder forum. There's also what Mheshimiwa has been alluding to, talking to the stakeholders in these elections, that's the candidates themselves. So I think IEBC is coming to the realization where actually they need to have that conversation to agree on a proper way forward. But also one thing that I'm encouraged by is that people are coming to the realization that if we just have a civil conversation, some of these solutions can be found within a day or two, and then people can move forward.
Yes.
But looking at your headline there that the US is pushing for Uhuru-Raila talks, I think sometimes when I see such headlines, I get a bit disturbed, because I'm thinking, why they themselves are still having issues with their own elections? Why do they think that they are better placed to tell us what we are going to do with ours?
Yeah. But
international pressure has got benefits sometimes, although I think the African in me sometimes grates at being told what to do by colonial forces. Yeah. But at this point in time, anyone who's a friend of Kenya is welcome to help. Yeah. And I'm glad that the IBC is calling that stakeholders forum, and I'm hoping we get something out of it, because as a Kenyan I am actually at the point where I'm ready for normal life.
Yes, but now it looks like even Jubilee and President Uhuru Kenyatta have to agree to these talks, because it would be in their best interests to actually ensure that we actually have an election next month. If we fail to have an election, then we start entertaining that discussion about caretaker governments and such like things. Do you think President Uhuru Kenyatta will show up for that meeting?
I think first of all, I don't agree with the U.S. pushes with the Nation newspaper, because who is the U.S.? Is it the president in the U.S. or the ministers, or who? These are just people talking, and then they put it on a headline. But looking at what is happening now, you know, we have only two people, and that is now what Kenyans are waiting to see. That is President Uhuru Kenyatta and our friend Honorable Raila Odinga. They are only two who are going now to be elected. And now we have one presidential candidate who has a Jubilee ticket and one who has ODM ticket. And now those are the people now we want to see going back to elections. But when we hear other people who are not Jubilee coming to advise us as Jubilee, then we don't want their advice. We want, if we are called as Jubilee, let our leaders go as Jubilee. And again, now on the ODM side, Saliam Davadi, those are NASAs. NASAs is not there, it's ODM now. We are dealing with ODM. Let them sit down also, members from ODM and members from Jubilee, and think about our country. And that is now what we are waiting, because even after us being in Jubilee, we're trying to look at it differently. Why did the president and he won't agree to go back to re-elections? And then you know, he consulted nobody, because he wants peace in this country. But again, also, even when you see them, and that is what I always say when I sit down a place like this, If you look at Raila Amolo Odinga and President Uhuru-Raila, if you see them meeting, both of them, that is when you know they are very good friends. But being incited by other people, that is why you see them having differences. That is why I want to see our country, Kenya, having very peaceful elections this time.
Do you, for example, hope to see President Uhuru Kenyatta at Bomas of Kenya on Wednesday, Raila Odinga at Bomas of Kenya on Wednesday, having a roundtable meeting with the IEBC? Are you hoping for that to happen?
Of course, what happens is that it is very easy for them to sit down. And I can see that happening. And even if they will not sit down, definitely they'll send their representatives. And that happens. But what their representatives do is go and talk about what their feelings is. Because even ODM is not a personal party for Raila, and Jubilee is not a personal party for Uhuru-Muigai Kenyatta. We are also there. So when you see even other people representing it's important than even them sitting down together.
And that's the problem, because once you include all these other people, you will rarely agree on anything. When Anthony will watch, of course, any negotiation, any such talks, any discussions or any dialogue for that matter, requires a lot of compromise, a lot of giving in, probably removing lines that have previously been drawn and actually moving your front lines a bit behind. With the kind of demands NASA that even were published in dailies last week, which they're calling irreducible minimums, are you saying that in such talks, if at all President Uhuru Kenyatta attends and Raila Odinga attend, that probably you're looking forward to some of these demands, actually NASA and Raila Odinga giving up on some of those demands?
And then tell us, what is NASA?
Okay, my seat in Parliament.
I don't know.
Let me say this, there is what you usually call reverse discrimination. I know there are a lot of times when we think that if the US or some foreign people are making intervention, it depends on which side of the political divide you are. You'll be saying, leave us alone. Look, when we appeared before the Supreme Court, the Jubilee people put up a video to try and validate why they think the elections were free and fair. And what did they put up? They put up all the things about the foreigners said this, the foreigners said it, they gave it a clean bill of health. So at that time it was important, and Kerry was very crucial and critical for to Jubilee for validation of the elections. But now US is saying, you guys sit down. Then now it is not a good thing that the US people came. Now, secondly, look, the reason we had widespread reforms in our electoral system was a foreigner called Kriegler. He came and we gave him the mandate to sit us together, and we put together what is now called the Kriegler reform that gave birth to this. When we had the crisis of the 2007 election, it was a foreigner. Yes, it was Kofi Annan, an African, but behind Kofi Annan was the international community and the UN. If it will take the US or remove US and put Germany, call even Angela Merkel, isn't it? And she says Raila and Uhuru sit down. If that will solve the problem for us in the coming elections, I don't think it will be a bad thing.
Okay.
Now let me finish with what you've asked, whether there may be a give and take, and I think there could be, and that's why it's important these two gentlemen sit eyeball to eyeball. In any negotiations, rules of negotiation, first you put together all your very strong 20 points, and these 20 points sometimes can be reduced to 1 point. So there's a lot of bats and things that will be thrown there and spanners in the works, and I know everybody will say this is unrealistic, but they could be reduced into 1, 2, 3 irreducible minimums. And
once
those
talks happen.
Yes. Okay. So it's a good thing.
Okay, so time up for a news review. Lady and gentlemen, I'll give you each about 30 seconds to give you final submissions. Let's start with you, Joy.
One of the things that I want Kenyans to also understand is that when we as a people allow ourselves to be ruled by the whims and the whips, the Kenyans themselves need to demand more of their leaders. Today, my role here specifically is, as you can see, I'm between these two gentlemen, is to talk for the Mwananchi. And one of the things that the Mwananchi demands of our leaders is that even as you're pushing for reducible minimums, even as you're pushing for an election this or that day. Remember that there is somebody's life that is being affected, the children who need to go back to school. And at the end of the day, even the people in the IEBC are Kenyans, they have rights. Those people who are aggrieved by this entire process, the people whose houses are being burnt, let us keep the people central in any decisions that we make. And I wish the President and Honorable Raila will sit together in the same room with the IEBC and talk, not sending their lieutenants, so that at the end of the day, they as statesmen can give leadership in how to get out of this quagmire. And I do hope we end it soon with an election that is free, fair, credible, and ascertainable.
Okay. Francis Watito?
I really like the way she has said, but I also repeat the same words and say, as Kenyans, we have one country. And I've always said, even me personally, I was born around village markets. And I follow what Kenyatta one time said, the first president of this country, that at one time nobody knows whether you are a Kikuyu, a Luo, or what, because it's only God who knows who was your father and your mother also, but the rest don't know. You could be talking Luo and you're not a Luo. I could be talking Kikuyu and my father was not a Kikuyu. What we need to do is put the country together and live together, because what is happening now is that since independence and now, if we start now hatred of tribal lines, this will not work. And if you look at Kenya now today, it is a country that very soon will end tribalism, because every tribe is living in every corner of this country. So we pray to God this time around, because we know that we believe in God, that we don't want to end into problems. And now the country stands still, like I had said, and even a member of parliament here will come and understand. Today they are going for induction, the new members of parliament. But from there is no money to run the constituencies. Okay. There is no money to run the county governments. There is no money, because the president now is a president-elect, and he doesn't have powers even to sign anything. Where are we heading? Okay. Is there what we want to see tomorrow? People now dying of hunger, and even now jobs, you know. We are heading in a very bad situation if we don't follow this. We want them to sit down, as she has said. Let's look at our country, not positions. Okay. Finally, Bwana Anthony, watch.
Just one line. This union needs to work for all of us, not some of us. We can only do that if we are going to have free, fair, and credible elections. So let's do it, and let's do it in the proper way.
Thank you so much, Bwana Anthony Watch, MP Mathare, Francis Waititu, MP Juja constituency, and Joe Mdivo, political analyst, helping us understand the headlines this morning and what's happening. Remember, there's that meeting on Wednesday. There are invitations to that meeting for the two gentlemen who will be taking part in those repeat presidential elections. This Wednesday, will that meeting take place or not? We still wait to see. Well, that's it from our news review this morning. We need to give room for other very interesting conversations to happen. Joey Mudengi has that Monday Inspiration interview with Dr. Wale, and of course Taekwondo coming up with Willis Waburu. My name is Freddy Ndimuli.